We're going to talk about sex. All right, I know I got your attention. So, I heard an episode of another podcast. I love listening to other podcasts, and it was talking about sex from, there was a man who was trying to kind of change the way that he went through dating, and he'd cheated on his wife several times, and he'd been divorced, and all right, now I need to learn from this, and I want to get remarried at some point, but how do I deal with these, as he called them, Goliaths in my life, and what does that look like? And I'm using this as a warm-up. I'm going to do it. This will be a fairly brief little segment here, but then on the heels of it, I want to talk about men and their communication and how do we love them through this space, and recognizing like what's really going on there. They're obviously very different than women, and that should be celebrated, but we can't celebrate it if we don't really understand it, so we can draw that out, so we can encourage it, and we can help them get where they want to go, so that we have strong men wanting to be in committed relationships for our family, for our communities. And Lord knows, if you look at our culture for more than 38 seconds, you can see that we desperately need that. That is one of the missing pieces. We've kicked God out of everything, and we've got a bunch of pussified or absent men, and that has got to change. But I found this segment about sex very interesting. It's always an interesting topic. Come on now. But he was talking about, he'd had all these past partners, and he was reflecting on trying to learn from his relationship with his wife, and she had come home with a feather one time and said, I want you to use this feather. And he got frustrated and impatient with her. He's like, it shouldn't take all that. I'm enough. It shouldn't take all that. And he's recognizing like, oh, she was trying to communicate with me something that I completely missed. I completely missed that she was trying to tell me she just wants me to be present, and she wants me to explore and to adventure, that it isn't just about, achieving, the best orgasm ever, and just getting to that goal and racing to that goal and being like, I know if I, this and this, and I touch here and I lick here and I do this, and then, 5 minutes, bada bing, bada boom. Like, it's not about that. He was missing the relational piece of it. And part of it was that he'd had all these past partners. And those past partners were shading his view, where he's thinking in his mind, well, it didn't take all that with Felicia or with Stacy or with whoever. So why does it take all that for you? Why are you so difficult to please? And he missed the ability to explore and enjoy his wife and to find new territory that had to do with her, rather than with the other women in his mind. Now I'm going to pause right there, because I don't want this to be just about men. Women have the same problem. Women often have the same struggle, and that is the struggle with having multiple partners. And we're in a culture that has become not just it's beyond promiscuous. It's a hoe culture, and it's a control culture. And it's if I have sex, and I think women in particular, this is part of that, you've heard me talk about how destructive I think third wave feminism is. This is part of that. We have flipped roles, and now we want to be on top in every possible way and take control of everything. And now I'm just going to sleep with whomever, whenever, however, because I have the power. And what we're doing is we're self-destructing, us and the other person. And I don't care who you are, if you're being honest with yourself, unless you are a sociopath, you've got this all residing in your head. You have all of these experiences that you've accumulated. And the other thing that they talked about, and I think this is profound, I've thought the same thing, and I think we need to talk about this. Toys, sex toys, vibrators, things like that, okay? His thing can't do that, sister. It can't do that. So if you've gotten yourself conditioned that that's what it takes, or even for him, a vibrator, if this is what it takes to, get it done in 5 minutes, and I've now gotten conditioned to pleasing myself and to masturbating and to watching porn, and I'm putting all of this in, our intake really, really, really matters. Not to mention at this point that porn is being tied so much to sex trafficking and human trafficking that who wants to touch that with a 10-foot pole? We got to stay away from that stuff from that perspective. But just on a personal level of what that does to us and the expectations that it sets, and then we get with our partner, and it might be the person of our dreams, and the sex is not good. Why is the sex not good? Is it because they suck at it, or is it because you have set these standards in your mind of other experiences that you've had, of toys that you've had, of porn that you've watched, that you're trying to get them to replay that? You're trying to get them to reenact these things in your mind. So they're never going to be these other people. They are who they are. And then it gets even more complicated when they are maybe less experienced than you. So we were never designed to have all these other experiences, to set all these other expectations, to create all of these wound spaces. Now, they may have a wound space. They may be more hesitant or more shy, or it's not as important to them, or they have a physical thing going on where it's painful for them in some ways. And so how do you work through that? And if you love somebody, it should be something where you're exploring this together. Now, there are not always easy answers. Sometimes there are very hard answers to the very difficult, painful spaces that we need to go to, and it is going to be an obstacle. And we do need to work through it together, but it's intended to be worked through together. It's intended to be a place of intimacy, and it's intended to be a place of journey, of exploration. Not, I'm coming into it knowing that I like these 5 things, and I need you to lick here, touch here in this order, and 38 seconds in, I need you to go here, and I need you to switch, and you put me in this position, and then bam, everything happens exactly according to how I want. Or I need you to tie me up, tie me down to get there. Where does some of that stuff come from? And if you arrive at that space, are you bringing it to the other person and trying to make them fit that for you? Or is it a space that you explore and you get there together and you start exploring boundaries and having fun with it? It is supposed to be fun, but also the best sex isn't about you. It's about the other person, and it is about exploring what they like and having that communication with one another. And okay, you like that? I'm going to do that more. Oh, you don't like that? All right, too easy. We shift and we adjust, right? There's confidence that is built in that space, and you're building that together. So with that, we may have to help each other heal in some of these areas, but it's important that as we go into sex should be fun, but I think we've created a culture that is so dysfunctional that people are continuing. I mean, there's reasons why people are exploring the poly lifestyle and all these things. Just like drugs, right? You start out with a certain low level thing, and you got to keep chasing that high. So in the sex world, we're creating that for one another as well, where we start out and we're having so many experiences that when we get in a really good relationship, we're tanking it because, well, the sex isn't good. No, it's because you brought a bunch of garbage into it, and you need to understand that going in, and also communicate that with your partner, and they need to communicate that back with you as well. What does that look like before you even really get into that space with one another, so that you have an understanding of what are our experience levels and what things do we need to work through and detox, and come at it as a team. And hey, this should be something new and should be something fresh. We're not trying to rehearse old things, even though they might have been mind-blowing and amazing. I'm telling you, you have sex with crazy people, it's some of the best sex you're ever going to have. You're going to have a really hard time getting that out of your brain. But they're also crazy people. So you have to detox from that. So how do you get into a healthy relationship with someone that is at least your type of crazy, right? And you have an experience that is about the two of you creating a new space and a new adventure together. So food for thought as you go into cuffing season. Not that I recommend that sex be a primary component of that, but if you're in relationship, or if it's something that you've been exploring, or you're trying to heal that space, or you need a wake-up call, and you need to recognize that that's something that you're bringing into a relationship that you shouldn't be, you're bringing other baggage items with it, then you're welcome. Merry Christmas.